Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave Chapter 281 The Origin of the Central Region. Fight against the legendary strongman. The Qingluan, whose biological level is as high as the 7th level of Epic, rushed to Lin Zichen in an instant. With a huge amount of source power, it attacked Lin Zichen's sea of consciousness fiercely. To severely injure Lin Zichen with one blow. Completely destroy Lin Zichen's ability to resist. Facing the fierce attack of an epic 7th level strongman, Lin Zichen was not afraid of danger and immediately used all the biological attributes he could use. In an instant, countless plant roots broke out of the ground around. With extremely deadly venom. Like a venomous snake, it rushed towards Qingluan at a high speed. At the same time, Lin Zichen's whole body of blood and qi burst out, and almost all of his blood and qi were gathered into his fist, and he punched the attacking Qingluan fiercely. This punch, in addition to the huge amount of blood and qi that was enough to destroy the world, also attached various biological attributes that could put the target into an abnormal state. Boom! When Lin Zichen's fist collided with the source power released by Qingluan, a powerful shock wave instantly spread in the form of ripples. Directly shook the entire cave to collapse. However, the 3 people in it were not buried alive. Because the sand and gravel that collapsed from the cave were instantly annihilated into nothingness by the shock wave. The cave, which was originally bottomless, was directly impacted into a deep pit. Looking down from the sky, it looked like a deep pit blown up by a nuclear weapon. Boom! Boom! Only 2 collisions were heard. Lin Zichen and Qingluan, who flew backwards due to the full-strength bombardment, hit the hard and thick rock wall almost at the same time. Shaken out a large area of shocking spider web cracks. Splashed dust all over the sky. After the dust dispersed, Lin Zichen staggered out of the rock wall, bleeding from all 7 orifices. Unconscious. Qingluan's attack just now directly attacked his sea of consciousness. It made his sea of consciousness tumble. Destroyed his control over his body. On the other side, Qingluan, whose biological level is as high as epic level 7, was more seriously injured than Lin Zichen. A big hole was torn in his chest. His body was in various abnormal conditions such as dizziness, bleeding, and poisoning. His consciousness was blurred, and he was still stuck in the rock wall and couldn't move. How is this possible? Huang Ying, who is also an epic level 7 strongman, was shocked and couldn't believe it when she saw that Lin Zichen was still standing after the bombardment, while Qingluan, who has a higher biological level, was still stuck in the rock wall. Qingluan is the strongest of epic level 7. How could he not even defeat a young man who is still wet behind the ears? What is going on? Although he was puzzled by this, Huang Ying did not stand there and entangled, and quickly burst out his source power to kill Lin Zichen who was shaky in front. He opened fire at full power as soon as he attacked. He wanted to kill Lin Zichen with one blow. In order to avoid following the footsteps of Qingluan, Lin Zichen, who felt the killing intent coming, quickly came back to his senses under the strong warning of danger sense. Unfortunately, it was useless to come back to his senses. When he fought with Qingluan just now, he not only injured his sea of consciousness, but also his body. Moreover, he was seriously injured. Even with quick self-healing, he could not fully recover in a short time. With such a scarred body, he could not avoid Huang Ying's full-strength attack at all. At this critical moment, boom! A huge sound came. A large amount of groundwater suddenly gushed out from the ground between Lin Zichen and Huang Ying, instantly separating the two. Then, a figure as delicate as water broke through the water with water splashing all over the sky, spreading blue hair in the air, with a pair of eyes that seemed to have ripples spreading continuously. Then, the mental power suddenly burst out, launching the most violent mental attack on Huang Ying below. This mental attack came very suddenly. Huang Ying was caught off guard without being able to react. She twitched as if she had been electrocuted. This state of suspected electrocution did not last long, but was fleeting. Shen Qinghan's biological level was too low, far lower than Huang Ying's epic level 7. The reason why the mental attack just now was effective was that she caught her off guard, which barely caused Huang Ying, who was at the epic level 7, to twitch briefly. However, Huang Ying's brief twitch was enough for Lin Zichen. Lin Zichen seized this fleeting opportunity, regardless of damaging the foundation of his body, and sacrificed a large amount of blood and essence in his body to burst out unprecedented power, flashing in front of Huang Ying in an instant. Then, he raised his hand and aimed at her stunningly beautiful face, and punched her fiercely. Bang! Huang Ying's head was directly blasted into a ball of blood mist. Bang! Huang Ying's graceful body was blasted into a larger ball of blood mist. Swish! A ball of red flame ignited out of thin air, burning all the blood mist in the air into nothingness, completely disappearing from this world, as if it had never existed. At the same time, Qingluan had just recovered from his blurred consciousness and walked out of the rock wall shakily. As soon as he came out, he saw Lin Zichen killing Huang Ying by crossing the level, and he froze in place. Huang Ying died? died at the hands of this young man who looked younger than the young master? This is impossible. Qingluan couldn't accept the fact before him, and felt that he must not have woken up yet. When she was stunned, Shen Qinghan, who was standing in the sky with his feet on the water column, had a decisive thought and burst out his mental power to attack her. In the confrontation with Lin Zichen just now, her sea of consciousness was severely damaged. Now her sea of consciousness is still in chaos, and her whole person is confused. Faced with Shen Qinghan's mental attack, she couldn't resist it for even a second, and was hallucinated in an instant. When Lin Zichen saw this, he didn't hesitate at all. He appeared in front of her in a flash, punched out with a strong force of blood and energy, and blasted it into a large blood mist with a bang. Then, there was a familiar sound, and the blood mist was instantly burned into nothingness by the red flames and ceased to exist. So I'm so strong. Lin Zichen looked at his fist that was full of energy and blood, his face was swaying, and he felt a little unreal. He knew he was strong, but he didn't expect to be strong enough to instantly kill 2 epic 7th level warriors across levels. Moreover, it was an instant kill with 1 against 2. You know, this is an epic level leapfrog kill. The gold content is much higher than that of ordinary, advanced, rare and other levels. I'm so outrageous. Lin Zichen was slightly excited and felt a little swollen. But soon, he calmed down. He thought for a moment and realized that the reason why he could so easily kill an enemy with 2 levels of force just now was because there were many factors other than strength affecting it. For example, Shen Qinghan's help, the enemy's contempt, etc. Without Shen Qinghan's help and the enemy's great attention, it would have been impossible for him to achieve a cross-level killing so easily. Lin Ziai, are you okay? Seeing that all the enemies had been killed, and making sure that he was safe at the moment, Shen Qinghan tapped his toes and slowly landed next to Lin Zichen, asking in a voice full of concern. Lin Zichen gasped slightly, I'm fine. After speaking, he asked, why did you come back suddenly? I don't worry about you. Shen Qinghan said in a weak voice, afraid that he would be scolded by Lin Zichen. Strictly speaking, it cannot be said to be a scolding, but more like a loving reproach from a strict father. Lin Zichen's heart felt warm after hearing this. He stroked her tender and pretty face with his hand and said in a gentle voice, fortunately, you are worried and chose to come back to see me. Otherwise, I might really have to tell the truth here this time. These words were not meant to comfort Shen Qinghan, but were an ironclad fact. If Shen Qinghan hadn't appeared in time and launched a mental attack on Huang Ying, Lin Zichen would have been severely injured by Huang Ying and left to his mercy. Am I still a burden now? Shen Qinghan raised her white and tender little hand and placed it on the back of Lin Zichen's hand that was on her face. She looked directly into Lin Zichen's eyes with watery peach blossom eyes and asked from the bottom of her heart. Lin Zichen looked serious, you have never been a burden to me. Lie. Shen Qinghan pursed her lips, you obviously just said that I was a burden to you not long ago. Lin Zichen explained, the reason why I said that at that time was because I felt that there was no chance of winning. It would be better to let you go than to let you suffer with me. Shen Qinghan didn't like this explanation, and said emotionally with red eyes, no matter what danger you encounter in the future, you are not allowed to carry it alone. You have to have me by your side, do you understand? Good. Lin Zichen responded. This is not perfunctory, it's just out of character. Shen Qinghan grew up with him and knew that he was not perfunctory. Just exchanged a few words. The two quickly left this place and continued flying in a direction away from King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. Lin Ziai, you said before that the Poseidon from the eastern region is one of the people on the mural in the underwater ruins. He is a guard who worships the mysterious woman. After Shen Qinghan finished speaking, he asked curiously, even a mythical creature needs to kneel down to worship. What level of existence is that mysterious woman lying on the shell? Lin Zichen thought for a while and then replied, I think it should be the 9th level of mythology, Dzogchen, or a level higher than the mythology level. Shen Qinghan became even more curious, a level higher than the mythical level, what level should it be? Lin Zichen, I don't know that either. The two of them were chatting wordlessly through chi blood sound transmission while flying at high speed away from King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain. Before he knew it, he had completely left King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain and arrived at the edge of the southern territory, an edge bordering the central territory. Lin Zichen was sensing the desert bordering the central territory from a distance of dozens of miles. After sensing it for a while, he discovered a very noteworthy place. In the desert near the southern territory, some green plants grow sparsely, and it doesn't look so desolate. On the contrary, the desert close to the central region is so desolate that there is only sand. It is as dim as a dying old man and reveals the vicissitudes of life everywhere. Lin Zichen still remembered the description of Zhongaiyu in some documents. According to the data, the central territory is a huge ruins of civilization, with a large number of relics inside, inheriting the oldest civilization in the place of origin, and is a forbidden area that is opened regularly. Most of the mythical creatures in the origin were born in the middle territory. I don't know if the central territory is open now. Go and have a look. With this thought in mind, Lin Zichen held Shen Qinghan in his arms and rushed towards the border of the central territory. Other side. Somewhere high in the blue sky. The current lord of city number 1, Qin Chuan, looked extremely embarrassed and fled at a high speed covered in blood. Behind him, the two deputy city lords, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, chased him all the way, vowing to kill him completely. No. He was injured too badly by the sneak attack just now. If this continues, it is only a matter of time before he is caught up. Can't sit and wait for death. I have to find a way to get rid of the two traitors behind me. Got it. The central region is ahead. At the border of the two regions, there is a source crystal mine ruins, where there is a terrifying guardian beast. I can lead the two traitors into the ruins and kill them with a borrowed knife. The idea came to this. Qin Chuan decisively adjusted the direction and flew to the source crystal mine ruins as quickly as possible. He wanted to use the claws of the guardian beast of the ruins to kill Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua who were chasing him. Especially Shang Guanyuehua. This bitch, relying on her frequent exchanges with him in bed, was able to take the position of deputy city lord and was qualified to compete for the position of city lord. Unexpectedly, such a gentle woman who had been honest with him many times was actually a traitor behind his back. This woman must die. Qin Chuan, who felt betrayed, was full of hatred for Shang Guanyuehua. An area where the two domains bordered each other. Lin Zichen took Shen Qinghan and flew over this area at high speed and successfully entered the edge of the middle domain. After entering, the two chose to land and walk, not daring to fly at high altitude like just now. The target of high altitude flight is too obvious. It is easy to become a thorn in the eyes of other creatures. It will be bombed down in minutes. In contrast, walking can hide your existence very well. It can reduce a lot of unnecessary trouble. Lin Ziai, there is a cave ahead. I can sense that there is a lot of water in it, a lot of water with rich source power. After traveling for dozens of miles, when they arrived at the foot of a barren mountain, Shen Qinghan keenly sensed that there was a huge cave at the foot of the mountain. Inside the cave, there was rich source power and a large number of strange aquatic creatures. After hearing what Shen Qinghan said, Lin Zichen was inevitably a little surprised. My mental strength was higher than hers, but I couldn't spread my mental power into the cave and carefully sense everything inside. So, how did she do it? Is it because of her special physique? She was born very sensitive to water, so sensitive to everything in the water, so sensitive that she needed to know it well. Well, most likely it is like this. Lin Zichen thought silently in his heart. Just then. Boom. A sharp sound of breaking through the air exploded from behind. Hearing this deafening noise, Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan immediately looked up and looked at the sound. Then, three familiar figures came into view, namely Qin Chuan, who was covered in blood and was fleeing in a panic, and Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, who were somewhat injured and were jointly chasing Qin Chuan. No, I deliberately hid so far away, how could I still be affected by the battle between these three people? P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 282, Central Region Ruins. Legendary Master? Death is approaching. Lin Zichen felt very uncomfortable for a while. In order to avoid the war, he fled thousands of miles to the central region. Unexpectedly, he would meet Qin Chuan. And the most terrible thing is that Qin Chuan is being chased by two treacherous deputy city lords, and the situation is very bad. Let's go. After Lin Zichen finished speaking, he flashed and rushed into the cave in front with Shen Qinghan. Thinking of hiding inside to avoid the three people in the sky. After entering the cave, Lin Zichen found that there was another world inside. Originally thought it was a dark and bottomless cave, but unexpectedly it was an endless world. Why is this cave so big? It looks much bigger than the whole mountain. Shen Qinghan looked at everything in front of her, and her delicate face was full of disbelief. Lin Zichen also felt incredible. After thinking for a while, he replied, it may involve a space-like structure, just like a storage bag. It looks small on the outside, but it can hold many large items inside. Well, that should be the case. Shen Qinghan nodded in agreement. Lin Zichen didn't say anything, and quietly looked at the environment in front of him. The environment in front of him was very empty. Everything in sight was just stones. It looked very primitive, with no traces of life. After looking around with his eyes, Lin Zichen dispersed his mental power and spread it deep into the cave. But before it spread out of the field of vision, it could not spread forward. The area outside the field of vision seemed to have an invisible film that blocked the spread of mental power. Lin Ziai, it's so strange, my mental power can't spread in. Shen Qinghan frowned slightly and said. Like Lin Zichen, she was just radiating mental power to sense the environment deep in the cave. Lin Zichen also frowned slightly, same, my mental power can't spread in, this place should be able to isolate mental power. When he said this, he was a little unsure. The unknown is always full of dangers. In the past, when he went to a strange place, he could rely on mental power to perceive the environment. But now, mental power perception has failed, which makes him feel particularly insecure. Then should we go in? Shen Qinghan's eyebrows were frowning more and more, obviously inclined not to go in. Lin Zichen in her thought, said, mental power is useless here, for safety reasons, we'd better not take the risk to go in. Indeed, it's better not to go in. Shen Qinghan nodded like a chicken pecking at rice to show his agreement. Lin Zichen suddenly remembered something and asked, before you came in, you said that you sensed a lot of water with rich source power and various strange creatures in the cave. How did you sense it? This cave can obviously isolate mental power, but Shen Qinghan can sense the environment in the cave from the outside. This is a bit difficult to explain. Shen Qinghan knew what he was wondering about, and explained, it was not me who sensed it with my spiritual power, but the water god palace in my sea of consciousness. Lin Zichen was curious, how did the water god palace sense it? Shen Qinghan said patiently, I don't know how the water god palace sensed it. I just saw a perspective of going deep into the cave from above the water god palace, and then followed this perspective into the cave and saw part of the environment inside. Lin Zichen felt something was wrong after hearing this. After a moment of silence, he expressed his guess, why do I feel that the water god palace in your sea of consciousness is guiding you into the cave? Shen Qinghan realized this belatedly after hearing this, and said with a look of sudden realization, don't say it, listening to you say this, it really seems to be the case. The water god palace in the sea of consciousness usually stays quietly in the sea of consciousness without any movement. Just now, a perspective of going deep into the cave suddenly appeared in the sky, which looked very deliberate. Lin Zichen guessed again, you said. Is there a relic in your cave, an ancient relic related to the water god? Maybe. Shen Qinghan couldn't give an answer to Lin Zichen's question. She was just a little girl without her own opinion. When she was with Lin Zichen, she would not use her brain if she could, and she had no personal thoughts. She was too dependent on Lin Zichen. Now, if she didn't have Lin Zichen by her side, she basically didn't know how to survive. On the side, Lin Zichen fell into hesitation. He was hesitating whether he and Shen Qinghan should explore deeper into the cave. Thinking that it was the guidance given by the water god palace, he felt that it shouldn't be dangerous for him and Shen Qinghan to explore deeper into the cave. On the contrary, there would be unexpected gains. Just as he was thinking about these. Buzz. A sound of breaking air came from outside the cave. The sound was deafening. It seemed to be close at hand. Lin Zichen realized that it was Qin Chuan and the others, and his face suddenly changed. Before he could react, Qin Chuan, who was covered in wounds, had already rushed in at high speed with a strong blood force. Qin Chuan did not expect that there would be someone in the cave, and he was stunned for a moment. When he saw that the two people inside were Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, he was even more stunned. He could not imagine why the two people who were in the south region not long ago would appear in a ruin in the central region. Especially, this was a ruin whose entrance was hidden by a special magic circle. He was just confused for a moment. Soon, Qin Chuan reacted and took Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan with him, and fled madly to the depths of the cave with them. Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua, who were chasing after him, were surprised to see Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan there. And this surprise soon turned into a surprise. As traders, they knew the value of Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan. Apart from anything else, even if they captured these two people and offered them to the flower god, they could exchange them for valuable evolutionary resources. Buy one get two free, this will make a lot of money. Bai Wubian was extremely excited, and immediately sacrificed his blood essence to increase the degree of blood and chi burst, and his flying speed instantly increased several times. Shang Guan Yuehua, who was standing by, also sacrificed her blood essence to increase her flying speed. She was more cautious than Bai Wubian and warned him, be careful. Qin Logu chose to escape here. He must have something to rely on. Bai Wubian didn't care, don't worry, I have been radiating my mental power to the maximum extent, and I am always alert to the slightest movement around me. If there is any accident, I can react in time. Seeing that he said so, Shang Guan Yuehua didn't say anything more, and concentrated on bursting out speed to chase Qin Chuan. Qin Chuan was seriously injured, and his speed was not as fast as the two people chasing behind him. In just a few breaths, the distance was shortened a lot. Qin Chuan frowned at this. He also wanted to sacrifice his blood to increase his flying speed. Unfortunately, the situation did not allow it. In the previous one-on-two battle, his physical body was seriously injured, and he had no conditions to sacrifice his blood. Fortunately, he had entered this relic on the edge of the central region many times and was very familiar with the environment here. With this advantage, he led Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan to the route of 9 turns and 18 bends, and gradually distanced himself from the two people behind him. How come he is so familiar with the environment here? Has he entered this ruins many times? Seeing Qin Chuan enter this ruins like a fish in water, Bai Wubian's face was no longer as calm as before, but was replaced by a little more cautious. As soon as he finished speaking, Shang Guanyuehua on the side said, Old Dog Qin entered the pool in front. Under the gaze of the two treacherous deputy city lords, Qin Chuan took Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan and plunged into a pool. When he sank into the water and saw the bottom of the pool clearly, Shen Qinghan was stunned for a moment, and then quickly reacted and sent a voice message to Lin Zichen. Lin Ziai, this is the pool. This pool is the place where the water god palace in my sea of consciousness shows a large amount of water with rich source power. Look, there are many strange aquatic creatures in the deep of the pool, exactly the same as the projections of the creatures I saw in the water god palace. Listening to Shen Qinghan's words, Lin Zichen sensed the source power contained in the water while looking at the aquatic creatures at the bottom of the pool. The source power contained in the water is very rich, so rich that it is about to condense into crystals. The aquatic creatures at the bottom of the pool have extremely strange shapes, just like the creatures in the abyss. Their life forms are so special that they are beyond cognition and difficult to understand. As Qin Chuan continued to sink, suddenly, wow! A crisp sound of breaking through the water sounded. The next second, Lin Zichen found that he was no longer bathing in the cool pool water, but fell into a dark space. He immediately looked at Shen Qinghan beside him. He was relieved to see that Shen Qinghan was fine. Then, he calmed down and looked at the environment around this strange place vigilantly. He simply looked around and was surprised to find that there were source crystals all around. Most of them were columnar. From the shape, it was very similar to the stalactites in the limestone cave. The only difference was that the stalactites were hanging upside down on the top. And these columnar source crystals in front of him were standing upright on the ground. If nothing unexpected happened, it should be formed by water drops. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen looked up at the top of his head. The picture that immediately came into his eyes was a piece of water suspended upside down in the sky. Above the water surface was the pool just now. So, is this a space under the pool? How did the city lord know that there was such a place? Has he been here before? Lin Zichen's mind was full of thoughts. At this time, two extremely strong energy fluctuations came from the pool above. Qin Chuan, who was the first to sense the two energies, became extremely solemn. Without any hesitation, he immediately turned his head to look at Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan on the side, and said to them, Go to the most remote and open place. Don't get close to the source crystal. Quick! Qin Chuan shouted the last quick very loudly. He was afraid that Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan would stand there in a daze. Hearing Qin Chuan's shouting, Lin Zichen quickly hugged Shen Qinghan and rushed to a corner in front at the fastest speed. He didn't know why Qin Chuan asked him to do this. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. But in this situation, he could only choose to believe Qin Chuan. There was no other way. It was just a blink of an eye. Lin Zichen took Shen Qinghan to hide in a hidden corner without source crystals. Shen Qinghan asked quietly, Lin Ziai, why does the city lord want us to stay away from the source crystal? I don't know either. After Lin Zichen finished speaking, he continued, let's be quiet first and choose to wait and see what happens. Yet. Shen Qinghan responded obediently, then closed her mouth and stopped talking. Lin Zichen held his breath, his eyes fixed on the water above his head, waiting for the two traders, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, to come in. At the same time, he released his mental power and tried to sense the environment here. However, the result was disappointing. The mental power could not diffuse out at all, just like it failed when it was on the pool. Seeing that the mental power could not diffuse out, Lin Zichen took back all his mental power and stared at Qin Chuan in front of him and the water above with full concentration. He wanted to see how Qin Chuan would deal with the two traders who were about to attack. Wow! Wow! Two clear and pleasant sounds of breaking water were heard. Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua broke out of the water almost at the same time and entered Lin Zichen's field of vision. Seeing these two traders, Lin Zichen's heart was hanging. The two traders were both legendary strong men. If Qin Chuan cannot get rid of these two people, then Lin Zichen, whose biological level is only epic level 1, will be in a very bad situation. I am afraid that it will take mechanical descent to resolve the crisis. For example, when facing the ninth elder in the coastal forest, the crisis was resolved only when Shen Qinghan mechanically descended to kill the ninth elder. Old Dog Qin, you are very familiar with this place. Have you been here before? Bai Wubian looked at Qin Chuan and said disrespectfully. Shang Guanyuehua on the side did not speak, silently radiating mental power to perceive the surrounding environment, and then frowned because the mental power could not spread out. The two treacherous deputy city lords did not make a move. It's not that they don't want to make a move. But they dare not make a move rashly. Qin Chuan did not run away when he came to this place. He stopped and waited to face the two people directly. This made the two feel a little uneasy, thinking that there was some conspiracy. Qin Chuan saw the uneasiness of the two people, and said in a slightly weak voice, have you seen the source crystals here? This amount is comparable to the benefits of killing a legendary alien. There are still many spaces full of source crystals in this relic. Give me a way out, and I will tell you too about the remaining spaces, how about it? This condition is very tempting. Qin Chuan is just a legendary strongman. Killing him will gain a lot, but it is not much. Especially when the two people share it equally. But if it is true as Qin Chuan said, there are still many spaces full of source crystals like this in this relic, then it will really be a fortune. Thinking of this, Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua were moved. Among them, Bai Wubian couldn't suppress the greed in his heart, and directly waved his hand to collect all the source crystals on the scene into the storage space deep in the sea of consciousness. Shang Guan Yuehua frowned slightly when she saw this, and then she thought about stopping Bai Wubian from taking away all the source crystals on the scene. Bai Wubian smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'll give you the crystals later. There's no need to divide them so clearly now." Shang Guan Yuehua said expressionlessly, "It's better to divide them now." After that, she put the remaining half of the source crystals into the storage space, and Bai Wubian split them 50 to 50. On the opposite side, Qin Chuan saw the two treacherous deputy city lords put all the source crystals into the storage space, and a smile of surviving a disaster appeared on his face. Seeing Qin Chuan smile, Bai Wubian also laughed out loud. "Qin Logu, what are you laughing at? Do you think that if I take away the source crystals here, it means that I agree to the request you just made? Kill you, and the source crystals will naturally belong to us. Since you can find all the spaces full of source crystals you mentioned, there is no reason why Yuehua and I can't find them together. Qin Logu, while you are still alive, laugh for a few more seconds, you will soon have nothing to laugh at." Bai Wubian said with a joking look on his face, but he didn't dare to attack Qin Chuan. He knew that Qin Chuan was a sinister person, so he was alert in his heart. "You don't know what I'm laughing at." Qin Chuan looked at Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua opposite him, and said with a deeper smile, "I'm laughing at you two for dying." "Dying?" Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua were confused. Just then, roar! A terrifying beast roar came from the depths of the space at the bottom of the pool, shaking the entire ground and cracking into countless shocking cracks. P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 283 Mythical War. Ancient Humans in the Age of Gods. Roar. The terrifying roar of the beast came from the depths of the darkness. The huge volume directly shook the ground to crack into countless bottomless cracks, causing the entire space to tremble violently. What sound? Except for Qin Chuan, the other four people present were terrified by the sudden and huge roar of the beast. Shen Qinghan, who was timid by nature, was frightened on the spot and her pretty face turned pale and her palms were sweating. Lin Zichen held her hand tightly, giving her a certain sense of security, while staring at the direction where the roar came from, ready to escape. Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua in front of them both showed vigilance and adjusted their blood to the maximum limit. The energy contained in this roar of the beast was too strong. The strength of the main body, at least started from the high legendary level. The high legendary level is a realm close to the mythical creature. Even the number 1 city lord like Qin Chuan, his creature level cannot reach this level. Only the high-level earth masters who have reached the position of deputy state lord Yongsheng can touch the level of high legendary level. As for the mythical level above, there are only a handful of forces on the entire earth. Roar. As the volume of the beast's roar became more and more deafening. The next second, an elemental beast suddenly jumped out from the depths and landed directly below the bottom of the pool with a bang, appearing in the eyes of several people present. At the moment the beast appeared, all the creatures in the pool above swam up at a high speed, as if they were running away. Lin Zichen held Shen Qinghan's hand tightly, staring at the beast in front of him intently. The beast looked somewhat similar to the Kylin. It was extremely huge, more than 10 times the size of an adult elephant on Earth. The composition of the body was very strange. The whole body was gaseous, like a ball of blue flame. But it did not emit a scorching high temperature. What it did have was only a source of oppression. The pressure was so great that it made it difficult to breathe. Buzz. A rapid sound of breaking through the air sounded. The beast ignored Lin Zichen, Shen Qinghan, and Qin Chuan, and headed for Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua who were farther away. The speed was as fast as a flash of light. It was so fast that even the legendary naked eye could hardly see it. Faced with the sudden attack of the beast, Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua reacted quickly and fully activated the various genes of the beasts in their bodies at the first time. Then, the blood and qi suddenly burst out, releasing the vast and boundless blood and qi power to fight the attacking beast head-on. The next moment, boom! The terrifying sound of the bombardment exploded from the bottom of the pool, turning the entire bottom of the pool into ruins. The shock wave that erupted during the period lifted Lin Zichen in the corner up and flew backwards at a high speed. Lin Zichen wanted to stabilize, but the power of the shock wave was too strong and he couldn't stabilize at all. With no other options, he could only hug Shen Qinghan tightly, protecting her body, and trying to withstand the terrifying impact that would happen next. Boom! There was only a sound of impact. Lin Zichen hit a hard stone wall heavily, leaving a large area of shocking spider web cracks on it. Under this powerful recoil force, he was directly shocked to spit blood and his face turned pale. Shen Qinghan, who was protected in his arms, suffered much less recoil force under the buffering of his body, but because of her relatively weak physical strength, she was injured no less than him. On the other side, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, who were facing the beast head-on, were directly hit by the terrifying source of power erupted by the beast and were completely disfigured and looked embarrassed. Boom! 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 In the next few seconds, the sound of the collision continued to sound. The beast was attacked hundreds of times, but its gaseous body was unscathed, and even showed a tendency to become stronger. However, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, who were only attacked by the beast several times, were seriously injured, their blood and spirit were seriously depleted, and their strength declined significantly. Bai Wubian, quickly take out all the source crystals you put into the storage space and put them back to their original positions. This beast only attacked the two of us, but not the three of them. It must be related to the source crystals we put into the storage space. Shang Guanyuehua shouted while taking out the source crystals from her storage space. Bai Wubian heard it, and immediately took out the source crystals from the storage space, and put them back to their original positions with the help of his memory. After the two took out all the source crystals, the beast, which had just been attacking the two madly, stopped attacking instantly and turned to check the source crystals that were put back. Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua both breathed a sigh of relief when they saw this scene. They didn't expect that it was these source crystals that caused them to be attacked by the beast. Buzz! Suddenly, a figure rushed towards Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua at a very fast speed. The speed was so fast that it made a sharp sound of breaking through the air. It made people's eardrums buzz. It was Qin Chuan. After resting for a while, he recovered most of his strength. While Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua were seriously injured at this time, he decisively sacrificed his blood essence to activate the genes of the beast in his body, and rushed towards Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua. Take advantage of the two people's illness to kill them. Although Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua were seriously injured, Qin Chuan himself was not much better. Therefore, facing Qin Chuan's sudden attack, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua did not panic at all, but calmly joined forces to fight with all their strength. Boom! 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 The sound of the three people fighting against each other continued to explode. The entire bottom of the pool was filled with the aftermath of the bombardment, causing rubble to fill the sky all around, and even the air was wiped out. The mortal bodies of Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan were shocked to the point of bleeding from their orifices. Confusion. At one point he was about to fall into unconsciousness. In sharp contrast, the source crystals on the ground were all unscathed and were not destroyed by the spread of the aftermath. It's not that the source crystal is stable and can withstand the aftermath of the battle between the three legendary powerhouses. Instead, the ferocious beast from before turned into a large piece of dark blue mist, completely covering these source crystals to prevent them from being damaged by the aftermath of the previous battle. Lin Zichen endured the severe pain of the aftermath of the legendary battle and opened his eyes as much as possible to observe the battle situation. He wanted to spread his mental power to watch the battle, but he couldn't spread his mental power in this place. You can only see everything clearly with your eyes. Lin Zichen felt very puzzled when he saw the ferocious beast transforming into a large piece of dark blue mist to protect Yuan Jing from the aftermath of the war. Is this ferocious beast not very intelligent? With its powerful strength, if you want to protect the source crystal here from being destroyed, the more accurate way would be to directly kill the three legendary powerhouses whose strength was damaged, instead of turning into mist itself and becoming a protective layer for those source crystals. When Lin Zichen was wondering about this, the legendary battle ahead has come to an end. The three people were seriously injured and their strength was damaged. Under the full force of the bombardment, their energy and blood were quickly squandered, and they were only left with the minimum reserve that could barely maintain the survival of the body. Therefore, after the war ended, the three of them collapsed on the ground dying, no longer capable of fighting. You two, hurry up, rape and kill these two people. Now that their energy and blood have been exhausted, their physical defenses have been greatly reduced. They can kill. Qin Chuan endured the severe pain that kept coming from everywhere in his body, and said in a weak and painful voice. When Lin Zichen heard this, his feet showed no signs of moving. His danger sense reminded him that the three legendary powerhouses who collapsed on the ground still had enough energy in their bodies to explode at full strength for several seconds. With a creature level of only epic level 1, if he really stepped forward to do a last-ditch hit, he would definitely die tragically at the hands of Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua, whose creature levels were as high as legendary. This city lord is not a good person. You want to use me as a consumable to consume the remaining energy in the main body of the two raped deputy cities. Sure enough, people who hold high positions are ruthless. Lin Zichen thought silently in his heart. Quick! Do it quickly! Otherwise, it will be too late by the time their body repairs itself to a certain extent. Seeing that Lin Zichen hadn't moved yet, Qin Chuan couldn't help frowning and urging him anxiously. Lin Zichen turned a deaf ear and chose to jump up with all his strength, holding Shen Qinghan and flying upwards to escape from this place of right and wrong. The moment he jumped up, buzz! There was a sudden sound of breaking through the air at my feet. It's that ferocious beast. It condensed from the form of a large piece of dark blue mist into the form of a huge unicorn, and rushed towards the three people paralyzed on the ground at extremely fast speeds. Qin Chuan, who was the closest, bore the brunt of the attack and was torn into pieces. His blood spattered on the ground and he died on the spot. There is not even a chance for flesh and blood to be recast. Because the dark blue mist constantly emitted from the beast's body instantly annihilated the remaining flesh and blood on the ground into nothingness. Then, almost at the same time, Bai Wubian and Shang Guanyuehua not far away were also bitten by ferocious beasts, and both fell into the dark space at the bottom of the pool. At the same time, high in the sky outside the ruins, the sky suddenly changed. Three figures appeared in the sky above the central realm. Under the gaze of many creatures, they instantly shattered into fragments and scattered all over the sky. Then they turned into dots of starlight and were completely wiped out in the air, becoming nothingness in the long river of time. What's going on? Actually, three legendary creatures who could dominate a party fell at the same time? Which three strong men fell? The faces of many intelligent beings in the central realm were full of confusion. A certain high altitude in the southern region. The six mythical powerhouses, Night King, Shu Lao, Ji Lord, Poseidon, King Kaiu Ancient Mountain Lord, and Qi King Mo, were fighting with all their strength without any reservation, and the sky was shattering and the earth was about to be torn apart. Suddenly, the six strong men tacitly distanced themselves from each other, stopped fighting, and looked in the direction of the central territory in unison. They, who were in the southern territory, saw the sky in the central territory from an endless distance and witnessed the death of three legendary creatures there. Haha, it's really interesting. Three legendary earth creatures have just died. Taoist robe girl, you earth creatures are a bit fragile. The Night King looked at Qi King Mo and mocked. Qi King Mo felt no emotion in her heart as she listened. She had been sleeping in an ancient bronze coffin for many years and had no sense of belonging to the current earth. She only cares about herself. Zhonggaiu. In an extremely secret ruins. The only three mythical powerhouses on earth nourish their bodies in this secret ruins in the middle region, trying to restore their strength and extend their lifespan as much as possible. Alas, three more legendary warriors have fallen from the human race. A man slowly opened his eyes and sighed heavily. The two warriors beside him heard his sigh, but ignored it and chose to remain silent. At this time, the woman in the middle slowly said, there are several mythical creatures fighting in the south region, and that crazy woman is also there. Should we go out and help her? Another mythical warrior, an old man with white hair and beard, said lightly, let's see first. If she can solve it herself, we won't bother. We should stay here to nourish our broken bodies and try to restore our peak strength before the final battle. The three of them are warriors who have survived from the ancient gods' era to the present. They had a lot of dealings with Qi King Mo of the same level back then. Central region. The ruins in the cave. The bottom of the pool. Lin Zichen, who was running away with Shen Qinghan, witnessed the three legendary masters being torn into pieces at will, and a look of shock suddenly appeared on his face. Three extremely powerful legendary masters, died at will. They were torn into pieces directly, and blood splattered all over the ground. Before, he thought that the beast had low intelligence, and didn't know that it would be easier to kill Qin Chuan and the other two directly, and it could better protect the source crystal on the ground. Now it seems that this mist-shaped beast is not only not low in intelligence, but also extremely intelligent. Gao chose not to take action at the beginning, and waited patiently until both sides were defeated, and then came out to kill both sides. It was simply insidious. Roar! After successfully killing the three invaders, the beast roared excitedly. The next second, it set its sights on Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan above, and a trace of fear appeared in its mist-shaped eyes. Lin Zichen saw the fear in its eyes, and didn't know what it was afraid of. However, this is a good thing. Seeing the beast's eyes full of fear, it just stared at him with its eyes wide open, without any substantial intention to attack. Lin Zichen hesitated for a moment, then decided to slowly move away, staring at the beast below, while slowly rising to the surface of the water above. The moment he touched the water surface, roar! The beast below roared, and then seemed to have made some kind of decision, and its figure flashed, rushing towards Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan who were about to escape at the fastest speed. Seeing this, Lin Zichen's face changed drastically, and his blood and spirit burst out quickly, rising to the surface of the water like crazy, and escaping at a speed far beyond the biological level. However, it was too slow. Lin Zichen's escape speed seemed too slow in front of a legendary creature. In just a blink of an eye, he was caught up by the beast below, and it opened a bloody mouth and bit him fiercely. Just when the beast's teeth were about to touch his body. Boom! A huge palace suddenly appeared in Shen Qinghan's sea of consciousness, like the seven treasures Ling Long Tower in the myth, suppressing the beast below with a force that covered the sky and blocked the sun. P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 284, Source Devourer. New biological attribute Source Devourer. The huge water god palace suddenly fell down like the top of a mountain, covering the sky and the sun as it suppressed the incoming ferocious beast. The dark blue ferocious beast is of extremely high rank and is as fast as a flash of light. It can travel hundreds of miles with just a thought. However, during the suppression process by the water god palace, it was frozen in midair and unable to move, being controlled by an invisible force from the water god palace. Bang! There was an ear-splitting explosion. Under the gazes of Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, the ferocious beast was directly crushed into a ball of blood mist, mixed with dark blue mist that spread out. Where did this ferocious beast get its blood? Lin Zichen looked at the blood mist in front of him, feeling very confused. He always thought that the ferocious beast was made entirely of mist and had no flesh and blood. But from now on, this is clearly not the case. That ferocious beast was made of flesh and blood, and probably had only one heart, which was so small that it was wrapped in the mist and not visible. Lin Zichen didn't dwell on this for too long. He just thought about it for a moment and then sucked in the large piece of blood mist in front of him from the air. The thought came to him, devour. You have swallowed a large amount of the life source of the source devouring beast / Chapter 285 Epic Level 6. Mythical Battlefield Transfer. At the moment when the word swallow fell, the thick source crystal column that Lin Zichen touched with his right hand instantly turned into strands of deep blue light, flowing into his body along the palm. As soon as these source forces entered his body, they immediately split into two different warm currents, moving in different directions. One flowed into the depths of the brain, turned into a part of the sea of consciousness, and improved mental power. The other flowed along the veins of the body, nourishing every cell along the way, and turned into blood power to strengthen the body. When these two warm currents were completely integrated into the body, Lin Zichen could clearly feel that his blood strength and mental strength had been greatly improved. The biological level was raised from Epic Level 1 to Epic Level 1 Great Perfection. As long as the blood strength and mental strength were improved a little more, the biological level could be raised to Epic Level 2. At this moment, the place where he was, at a glance, was full of thick source crystal columns. Just by swallowing a source crystal column, the strength of blood and spirit has been so exaggeratedly improved that the biological level almost evolved by one level. If all the source crystal columns here are swallowed, the biological level will evolve to who knows how many levels. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen was slightly excited. Lin Zi, can you absorb source crystals? Shen Qinghan asked with a hint of surprise in her clear peach blossom eyes. Lin Zichen explained slowly, well, I can absorb source crystals. The beast that was just crushed into a ball of blood mist by your water god palace is called the source devouring beast. I swallowed its life source and obtained a biological attribute called source devouring, which can swallow source crystals and transform them into my own blood and spirit. So powerful! Shen Qinghan's eyes were full of envy. She was really envious. Lin Zichen has too many incredible abilities, and each of them is mythical. This is really special to the point of being a bit infuriating to both humans and gods. After calming down a little, Shen Qinghan asked curiously, Lin Zi, you just swallowed such a big source crystal, how do you feel? Very good. Lin Zichen replied calmly, the biological level has been directly upgraded from the first level of epic level, which is just entering the threshold, to the first level of epic level perfection. Shen Qinghan opened her mouth slightly in surprise when she heard it. Afterwards, she said with more envy, just swallowing one source crystal, it has been upgraded so much, if you swallow all the source crystals here, how many levels will it evolve to? As she said, she became a little excited, quick, Lin Zi, swallow all the source crystals here and see how many levels you can evolve after swallowing them. At this time, she was more excited than Lin Zichen. She has been like this since she was a child. Watching Lin Zichen show off his saintliness in front of people, watching Lin Zichen become stronger, and watching Lin Zichen achieve success is one of her pleasures. It's a bit like watching the game character grow stronger step by step when playing a game. Lin Zichen didn't waste time and quickly began to swallow other source crystal pillars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As more and more source crystal pillars were swallowed, Lin Zichen's blood and spirit strength continued to soar, and then his biological level also evolved along the way. Epic Level 2. Epic Level 3. Epic Level 4. Epic Level 5. Epic Level 6. When the last source crystal pillar was swallowed up, Lin Zichen's biological level has evolved from the great perfection of the Epic Level 1 to the Epic Level 6. Just one level higher than Shen Qinghan's Epic Level 5. Only one step away from becoming an epic high-level creature. Evolved 5 levels in a row. Lin Zichen was excited. But soon, he calmed down. Calm down. Stabilize the blood and spirit in his body. Then, he carefully sensed his evolved body. After sensing it, only 2 words emerged in his mind. Very strong. Several dimensions stronger than the epic level 1. In terms of multiples, it is at least tens of thousands times stronger. After all, it evolved from epic level 1 to epic level 6, a total of 5 levels. With such a large evolution, it is reasonable that the strength increase is large. Lin Zichen, what level have you evolved to? Seeing that Lin Zichen had already devoured all the source crystal pillars in this place, Shen Qinghan immediately asked impatiently. Hearing Shen Qinghan's question, Lin Zichen's mood, which had just calmed down, instantly became excited. Then he couldn't help but raise a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, and said lightly, Epic level 6. Epic level 6. Shen Qinghan widened her eyes and said in disbelief, so high. Soon, the surprise on her face turned into excitement, and she was happy for Lin Zichen from the bottom of her heart. But after a short time of excitement, she pouted her cherry lips again and said speechlessly, no, why is your biological level always exactly 1 level higher than mine? Did you do it on purpose? Lin Zichen was also speechless. No, can this be done on purpose? Of course it can be done. Shen Qinghan explained with reason, of course it can be done on purpose. You are so powerful and have so many incredible abilities. It is normal to be able to control the biological level. Lin Zichen was really speechless. You are too whimsical. It would be a waste if you don't write a novel. The two didn't talk for too long, just a few words of small talk. Soon, the space at the bottom of the pool began to turn, looking for other spaces that might have a large number of source crystals. The dead Qin Chuan had told Bai Wubian and Shang Guan Yuehua, who also died, that there were other spaces full of source crystals in this ruins. Lin Zichen heard it all, and thought that he would search around to see if he could find it. In this way, he and Shen Qinghan searched in the ruins for a full half-month. Every corner was searched. However, they found nothing, not even a trace of a source crystal. Lin Zichen, the city lord must be lying, there are not so many source crystals in this ruins. Shen Qinghan frowned slightly, feeling a little uncomfortable, and felt sorry for wasting a whole half-month. Lin Zichen didn't think it was a waste of time. He felt that time was the least valuable cost. If you want to obtain evolutionary resources, it is impossible not to waste time. In a person's life, it is impossible to get rewards for everything you do. It will always be a waste of time. Moreover, in the past half-month, it is not that there is no gain. It's just that the source crystal was not found. We did get some exotic flowers and herbs. And they were all of high quality, all epic-level exotic flowers and herbs. Let's go, leave here, and go back to the city to see the situation. Lin Zichen said to Shen Qinghan. Shen Qinghan was puzzled, didn't they say that there are many treacherous people in the city and it's not safe? Why do we have to go back there? Lin Zichen looked confident, not very safe, that was before. Now our creatures are all at the epic middle level. After the death of the city lord and the 2 deputy city lords, we are basically the strongest group of fighters in the city. There may be legendary strongmen in the city, but the level is estimated to be not that high, at most it is a low legendary level. With our strength, even if we can't beat the other party, we can easily escape. That's right. Shen Qinghan nodded in agreement, thinking that what Lin Zichen said made sense. After making the decision to return to the city, the two did not waste any more time, and quickly left the ruins and came to the outside world where it was drizzling. Then, fly in the direction of lush vegetation. The south region is the origin of wood-type creatures. As long as you go in the direction of lush vegetation, you can reach the south region. Boom! Suddenly, a loud noise came from the sky. It was very sudden. It was like a nuclear bomb suddenly exploded overhead. It scared Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan. After a moment of coming to his senses, Lin Zichen quickly looked in the direction of the sound, and then what came into his eyes was an extremely shocking scene. I saw that the sky above my head was dyed black like dark clouds. The dim light instantly enveloped the entire land below, and the world seemed to be welcoming an unprecedented thunderstorm. Is that the black air of the land of silence? With the blessing of Eye of the Sky, Lin Zichen stared at the darkness in the sky for a while, and keenly discovered that this large area of darkness in the sky was exactly the same as the black air lingering on the aliens in the land of silence. Looking further away, he found that the darkness in the sky came from the direction of the south region. What happened in the south region? Was the Lord of Silence in the land of silence blown into a ball of black fog? Lin Zichen's mind was full of thoughts. Just as he was thinking. Suddenly, the black fog in the sky began to spread towards the south region at a very fast speed. No. It didn't spread. It migrated. From time to time in the moving black fog, there were huge noises, bursts of dazzling fire, and powerful impact. This was not thunder in the dark clouds, but a fight between strong men. This meant that the darkness in the sky was most likely not caused by the Lord of Silence being blown up, but summoned by the Lord of Silence himself. Similar to the expansion of the domain. Realizing this, Lin Zichen quickly took Shen Qinghan away from the central region. The escape route avoided the darkness in the sky as much as possible. If nothing unexpected happens, the darkness in the sky will move from the south region to the central region, shrouding the entire central region in shadow. The sky above the southern region. Qi Qingmo's side fell into a disadvantage. In the 3-on-3 situation, Qi Qingmo relied on her physical body to become a saint. Just by releasing her blood and qi, she could create a large void crack in the air. She had an absolute advantage from the beginning. However, the old tree, the Lord of Silence, and the Night King did not follow the moral code of martial arts and summoned the Flower God to join the battle. In the 3-on-4 situation, Qi Qingmo was severely restrained, and the mountain master of King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain, Su Maiziao, was weak, which led to the situation falling into a disadvantage. In team combat, once the shortcomings are obvious, they will fall into a difficult disadvantage. No, the disadvantage of 3 against 4 is too big. Over time, we will be defeated one by one. Su Maiziao frowned and sent a secret message to the Sea God and Qi Qingmo with a serious expression. Neither the Sea God nor Qi Qingmo responded, trying their best to resist the enemy's attack. Both knew that the disadvantage of 3 against 4 was huge. For them, the key was not to find the problem, but how to solve it. Su Maiziao knew this in her heart, so after she told the problem, she quickly proposed a solution. Let's go to the central region, where there are mythical strongmen from the earth. The enemy of our enemy is our friend, and they will definitely help us. The enemy of our enemy is our friend, this sentence was said to the sea god. In fact, the reason why Su Maiziao was so sure that the mythical earth powerhouses in the central region would help her was because her old lover was there. She never had more than one old lover, the sea god. It was not that she was promiscuous, but that she was responsible. She knew very well that her greatest advantage was to seduce men. Therefore, in order to give King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain a better future, she would try to seduce any mythical powerhouse. The sea god of the East region was one of the mythical powerhouses she successfully seduced. The 2 male mythical powerhouses of the earth who were currently nourishing their bodies in the ruins of the central region were also the objects of her successful seduction. How did you know that there were mythical powerhouses of the earth in the central region? The sea god sent a message to Su Maiziao in doubt. There was also some suspicion in this doubt. He suspected that Su Maiziao had an affair with the mythical powerhouse of the earth and had an inexplicable sensitive relationship with it. He knew that the fox girl of King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain was promiscuous. Su Maiziao did not explain, but decisively sent a message to him and Qi Qingmo, let's go to the central region. As soon as the voice fell, her mental power suddenly surged, and her soul-stirring eyes burst into purple light. The next moment, a purple moon appeared out of thin air in the sky, emitting a dark purple light, reflecting the whole world in purple. The eyes of the Tree Elder, the Lord of Silence, the Night King, and the Flower God, who were bathed in this purple moonlight, instantly turned purple, and fell into an endless illusion world, and their minds were unclear. Hurry up, go to the central region. Su Maiziao knew that she could not control these 4 mythical powerhouses for long, and immediately shouted to Qi Qingmo and the Sea God to urge them the moment she controlled them. The 2 who heard the shouting immediately broke through the void and went to the central region without any hesitation. The 3 left in less than half a second. The Lord of Silence was the first to wake up from the illusion. Seeing that the world in front of him was shrouded in a purple moonlight, he immediately realized that he was in Su Maiziao's illusion. In response, he immediately sacrificed his blood and instantly released all the source power in his sea of consciousness, and a large area of thick black fog was dispersed with a bang. Once these black fogs appeared, they tore open a large number of bottomless void cracks in the air. Through these void cracks, in just a blink of an eye, the black fog invaded the entire world, turning the world covered by the purple moonlight into a pitch-black darkness. At the moment when the world became pitch black, the Tree Elder, the Night King, and the Flower God escaped from the illusion at the same time. The moment the 3 mythical strongmen woke up, they realized that they had just been trapped in Su Maiziao's illusion. Among them, the Flower God frowned and said, the fox girl in King Kaiyu Ancient Mountain is difficult to deal with. They fled to the direction of the central region. The Lord of Silence said this in a dead voice, and the next second he merged with the surrounding black fog and spread towards the direction of the central region at a high speed. Seeing this, the Tree Elder, the Night King, and the Flower God followed immediately. They have the upper hand, and what they need to do now is to pursue the victory and kill them all. P.S. Put the bowl on the table, and ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 286 The Demise of a Mythical Creature. Strange Phenomena in Heaven and Earth. The sky above the central region. It was calm. There were no clouds in the sky. Suddenly, 3 huge cracks appeared in the sky, exuding a cold aura, and 3 figures with extremely strong biological pressure rushed out of the cracks. They were Qi Qingmo, Poseidon, and Sumai Xiao. In order to reverse the disadvantageous situation, the 3 flew all the way from the southern region to the central region. Sima Xian, Mr. Li, come out. The first moment Sumai Xiao arrived, she looked down at a lake under her feet and shouted. Her 2 old lovers on earth were hiding in the lake below to nourish their bodies. Not long after the voice fell, the calm lake surface suddenly began to waver without wind, and regular ripples slowly emerged from the center and spread out until they spread into regular circles. Then, 3 ethereal figures broke out of the water from the center of the circle. From the appearance, one was a middle-aged man in his early 40s, one was an old man in his 60s, and the other was a young woman in her early 30s. This is just from the appearance. In fact, the age of the 3 people will not be less than 1,000 years old. Because the 3 people always exude a very oppressive biological pressure, which is no less powerful than Sumai Xiao and the Sea God, and is on par with the strongest Qi Qingmo among them. With such strength, they are bound to be not young. Not to mention 1,000 years, even if they have lived for a whole era, it would not be strange at all. It's you 3. Seeing the 3 people breaking through the water, Qi Qingmo couldn't help but raise his eyebrows, and a touch of surprise appeared on his beautiful face. The 3 people in front of her are strong people of the same era as her. They were all called immortals in those days, and they were mythical creatures standing at the top of that era. She never dreamed that she would meet acquaintances from that era in this strange place. This is a bit too coincidental. On the other side, the 3 people also recognized Qi Qingmo. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Among them, the woman in the middle, Xian Yuan Wanyu, said with some emotion, I never thought that you, a crazy woman, could survive the end of the Law era with depleted spiritual energy. It seems that you have successfully adapted to this new era. How did you 3 survive? Qi Qingmo looked at the 3 old acquaintances in front of him and asked in a cold tone, not caring about the crazy woman he just called. I survived by changing my cultivation system. Xian Yuan Wanyu did not hide anything and answered slowly, the 3 of us changed from the spiritual energy system to the source power system, and then we gradually adapted to this new era. After hearing this, Qi Qingmo couldn't help but ask curiously, how did you change your cultivation system? She was able to adapt to this new era by relying on pure-blooded humans. Relying on absorbing and refining the creatures of the source land to replenish her energy. Xian Yuan Wanyu just smiled and didn't answer Qi Qingmo's question. This is a method that she spent several epochs to find out with difficulty, and she would not tell Qi Qingmo for free. Just when she wanted to ask Qi Qingmo for the reward of sharing this method of changing the system. Sizzle. 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 There was a sound of air breaking. 4 shocking huge cracks suddenly appeared behind the crowd. Then, 4 figures with extremely strong biological pressure walked out from them. The visitors were the 4 mythical creatures, the Old Tree, the Lord of Silence, the Night King, and the Flower God. As soon as these 4 mythical creatures appeared, they saw Sima Xian, Li Lao and Xian Yuan Wanyu, 3 mythical strongmen from Earth. For a moment, everyone frowned, as if facing a great enemy. The original situation of 4-3 suddenly became 4-6, and the advantages and disadvantages were reversed in an instant. Go! The cautious Night King quickly shouted to his companions beside him. Before the voice fell completely, he had already flashed and tore a huge crack behind him to escape from here. Seeing this, the Old Tree, the Lord of Silence, and the God of Flowers did not hesitate for a moment, and quickly tore a huge crack behind them, wanting to escape from here with the Night King. Can you escape? The white-haired and white-bearded Li Lao smiled, and raised his hand to throw out a bone plate covered with runes. As soon as the bone plate left his hand, it immediately turned into a huge void cage, completely sealing off the land under its cover, prohibiting any living creature from passing through. Even he himself could not escape the imprisonment of the void cage. The only way to escape is to wait for time to pass slowly, and wait for the void cage to gradually become less unbreakable as time passes, until it disappears completely. In front, under the imprisonment of the void cage, the 4 mythical powerhouses who wanted to escape were all stopped at the same time. The void cracks they opened up were now prohibited by the void cage, and they could not break through the void to teleport. Kill him with all your strength and break the cage. The Old Tree reacted very quickly. Seeing that he and others were trapped in the void cage and could not escape, he immediately made the decision to kill Li Lao. The void cage in front of him was released by Li Lao. As long as Li Lao was killed, there was a high probability that the void cage could be broken. Although it was 4-6, if the goal was not to win a big victory, but to kill one of the opponents and then quickly escape from the battlefield, there was a great chance that it could be achieved. The Lord of Silence, the Night King, and the Flower God all knew this truth, so when they heard the Old Tree shouting, they all turned around and killed Li Lao. Old Li had anticipated this. The moment he threw out his pelvis, he had already pulled back a distance and hid behind Qi Qingmo and others to protect himself. The other 5 people saw that the other party was coming, and they all opened fire to resolve this battle of fewer people against more people as quickly as possible. Among them, Qi Qingmo had a clear goal, and his blood and qi burst out, and he rushed towards the Night King. She had a conflict with the Night King, and now was a good time to eliminate the threat in advance. Boom! There was only a terrifying sound of a bang. The Night King could not withstand Qi Qingmo's attack. He was just hit by Qi Qingmo, and his blood and qi in his body were in chaos, and he was shot down from a high altitude by Qi Qingmo. Save me! Realizing that the situation was not good, the Night King shouted to his companions above at the first time, his eyes full of fear. The Tree Elder, the Lord of Silence, and the Flower God who heard the voice ignored his call for help. The 3 of them only had old Li in their eyes. They just wanted to kill old Li quickly. Then they ran away. As for the Night King's life, it was gone. One death is better than all deaths together. With the old tree, the Lord of Silence, and the God of Flowers watching him die without saving him. Soon. There was a loud bang. The Night King, whose biological level was as high as the mythical level, was punched through the chest by Qi Qingmo, and his heart flew out with a lot of blood and essence, and then was caught by Qi Qingmo, who instantly refined it into blood and energy and absorbed it. Then, another bang sounded. The Night King's head was also blown up by a punch, and a large amount of source power escaped from the sea of consciousness and spread around without direction. It just spread for a short time before it was sucked into a ball by a strong suction force, until it condensed into a blue water ball and fell into Qi Qingmo's jade hand. Then, it was brought to Qi Qingmo's mouth, swallowed in one gulp, and refined into energy for his own use. Boom! The familiar voice sounded again. Qi Qingmo casually punched out, and with one punch, the remaining body of the Night King exploded into a ball of blood mist. Under the effect of suction, the blood mist quickly collapsed into a bright red pill, and then Qi Qingmo swallowed it into his stomach to absorb and refine it. At the moment when the Night King completely fell, the sky and the earth were strange, and the wind and clouds were surging. The world seemed to have ushered in the end of the world, and the whole sky was stained with a layer of blood like bright red color. Then there were lightning and thunder, howling winds and bean-sized blood-colored raindrops poured down, dyeing the entire land blood red. The shrill sound of the wind and the unstoppable blood rain. This is the heaven that gave birth to all things, crying for a dead mythical creature, using the most shrill cry and the saddest tears of blood to announce the fall of a mythical creature. On the other side, the old tree, the Lord of Silence, and the Flower God all noticed that the Night King had fallen. This mythical warrior who had dominated the border of the southern region for several epochs, under Qi Qingmo's attack, did not even have the chance to reshape his flesh and blood from beginning to end. He had no power to fight back the whole time. In just a blink of an eye, he fell in the sky above the eastern region. For this scene, the old tree, the Lord of Silence, and the God of Flowers were all shocked and a little desperate. They knew that Qi Qingmo was very strong, but they did not expect him to be so strong. The strong men of the same level were killed without any rules and no discipline at all. It was this little despair that prompted them to become more crazy and besieged Li Lao desperately. Li Lao's 2 fists could not defeat 6 hands, and he almost died and completely became dust in the long river of time. Fortunately, the 4 mythical warriors, the God of the Sea, Su Maiziao, Sima Xian, Xian Yuan Wanyu, etc., took action in time, which saved his life and prevented him from being killed on the spot by the completely crazy old tree, the Lord of Silence, and the God of Flowers. The Tree Elder, the Lord of Silence, and the Flower God, who had just attacked Li Lao madly, with only Li Lao in their eyes and ignoring the full-scale attacks of others, were now seriously injured and fell freely from a high altitude. Just when they were attacking Li Lao, the Sea God and others were also attacking them. Having endured a lot of attacks, their bodies were now riddled with holes and they were unable to fight anymore. They could only watch themselves falling down. Just when the Sea God and others were about to finish them off, the Flower God, who was the most seriously injured, suddenly had shocking cracks all over her graceful body. Once those cracks appeared, they immediately spread like a spider web, covering her entire body. Then, a large number of green buds grew out of the cracks, instantly covering the Flower God's delicate body. The Sea God and others noticed this abnormality on the Flower God and immediately launched the most violent attack on him, wanting to kill him as soon as possible to avoid unnecessary changes. Boom! 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 The powerful mythical attacks continued to pour down on the Flower God's body like raindrops. Under such intensive and high-intensity attacks, even Qi Qingmo, who had a very strong body, could hardly resist. However, the Flower God, whose body was weaker than his, resisted all of them at this moment. No matter how powerful the attack was, it could not break the defense when it landed on his body. The green buds on the surface of his body were filled with boundless vitality, forming a light green protective film on the surface of his body. Even the attacks of the mythical strong could not leave any traces on the protective film. What's going on? What is that green light film on the Flower God's body? Why can't it completely resist our attacks? The sea god said with a puzzled look on his face, with a hint of fear in his puzzlement. He has lived for several epochs and thought that he should have encountered everything, even knowing where and what treasures are buried. But the green light film on the flower god's body was something he had never heard of or seen before. Other people around him also frowned slightly, and were also puzzled. Especially Qi Qingmo, she knew clearly how destructive her attack was, but at this moment, she had no way to deal with the light film on the flower god's body, which made her doubt her life a little. Just when everyone was puzzled by this. Lord Wood God, please save me. The old tree, who was falling at a high speed, suddenly looked at the flower god with excitement and shouted. He was not shouting at the flower god, but at the wood god. At the moment his voice fell. Boom! The flower god's body suddenly exploded, and a large number of green roots and green thorny vines burst out in an instant. As soon as the green roots appeared, they immediately shot towards the ground at a speed like a stream of light, piercing into the ground one after another to absorb nutrients crazily. With the supply of nutrients, the roots and vines grew rapidly. The vines were all intertwined in an orderly manner, forming a thick trunk, turning into a towering tree that could not be seen from the top, soaring into the sky, spreading branches and leaves, and shrouding the entire central region in a shadow. Wood God! Sumai Xiao opened her beautiful eyes wide, revealing a trace of fear in her eyes. It turned out to be the wood god, one of the 5 elements gods. Why did he revive at this time? The sea god beside him also showed fear when he heard it. The 5 elements god is the oldest god in the source land. All the mythical creatures in the source land can only prove the mythical creatures by standing on their shoulders. Ordinary mythical creatures are not at the same level as the 5 elements god. The gap between them may be much larger than the gap between legendary creatures and mythical creatures. Quick, kill the old tree and the Lord of Silence, and leave quickly after you succeed. Sumai Xiao quickly recovered from her fear and shouted, making the best choice for the current situation. Today, we have seriously injured the old tree and the Lord of Silence. We have a chance to kill them. If we don't kill them now, we may not have the chance to kill them in the future. Qi Qingmo and others heard this and opened fire without saying a word. They rushed to the seriously injured old tree and the Lord of Silence, and wanted to wipe out these 2 mythical strongmen who were hostile to the earth. Unfortunately, at the moment they attacked. Buzz! 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 A sharp sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. The next second, a large number of vines with green light suddenly shot out from the towering tree that reached the sky at a speed that was so fast that it could tear countless void cracks in the air, and attacked Qi Qingmo and others. P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 287 Alien Attack. Southern Territory. In front of various Earth cities. At a glance, there are densely packed strange plants, beasts, and people everywhere. The mythical powerhouses such as Shu Lao, Lord Ji, and Night King had already arranged relevant siege plans before participating in the war. The plan was unpretentious. Just when they were fighting on the side of the human race and entangled the top combat power of the human race, their troops took the opportunity to attack the Earth city. The top combat power on the Earth side, because there are a few old antiques here, is almost as good as the top combat power on the origin side. As for the mid to high-end combat power, the Earth side is far inferior to the source side. As long as the top combat power of the Earth side is successfully held back and cannot support the city in time, then under the attack of the high-end combat power of the origin, it is only a matter of time before the city is breached without any difficulty. In front of city number 1. A large number of scarlet thorn vines soared into the sky, together with giant trees reaching into the sky, forming a high ring-shaped wall surrounding the entire city. Over the city, there was a large expanse of black mist as black as ink, shrouding the entire city in shadow, plunging it into a darkness where one couldn't see even one's fingers. Everywhere was filled with the aura of cold despair. In the darkness, countless strange plants, beasts, and people are ready to attack the city at any time. The city gate is high on the wall. A group of city leaders stood solemnly. There are strange plants, strange beasts, and strange people under the high overlooking wall. One is looking at the tree wall more than 10 miles away. There was looking up at the black mist over the city. No matter which direction he looked, his face was frowning, his expression was extremely solemn, and there was a hint of despair in his eyes. There are so many strange plants, beasts, and people that the entire city is surrounded by water. In the current situation, there is no possibility of victory at all. There is only a large defensive formation outside the city, otherwise the city would have been breached long ago. However, although the city defense formation is powerful, it consumes too many source crystals and cannot last for long. Over time, if there are not enough source crystals, the city defense formation will become ineffective. At that time, the alien races outside the city that are eagerly watching will flood in, and the entire city will fall. Lord Yezhu, what should we do next? A middle-aged man with a strong build looked at Ye Yongsheng with a worried look on his face and asked. He knew that the city defense formation would not last long, and he had to find a solution as soon as possible, otherwise it would only be a matter of time before the city was breached. Ye Yongsheng was silent for a moment, and then replied expressionlessly, close the biological channel and prepare for a fight to the death. As the deputy governor in charge of the affairs of the source area, when he learned that Qin Chuan and others had not returned from the city for a long time, he immediately rushed to City Number 1 to take charge. City Number 1 is the most important stronghold on the Earth's side of the origin and cannot be lost. Otherwise, the Earth will lose its roots in the source. Based on this, even if there is little hope of defending the city, we must do our best to defend the city. No matter how many people sacrifice, we must guard against death. Hearing Ye Yongshen's answer, the middle-aged man frowned slightly. Sure enough, the only way left is to fight to the death. Thinking about it, the middle-aged man hesitated and suggested to Ye Yongsheng. Lord Yesu, our planet's top evolutionary geniuses are all in City Number 1. Should we send them back to Earth and close the biological channel? The evolutionary genius in City Number 1 is the mainstay of the future of the Earth. If they were sacrificed in the ensuing deadly battle, it would undoubtedly be a waste of treasure and a waste of the evolutionary talents of these geniuses. Geniuses should be well protected in their early stages of growth and development. When they become stronger in the future, they should be allowed to serve the Earth. Therefore, the geniuses in City Number 1 should not participate in the war that may break out at any time. Ye Yongsheng looked into the distance and said calmly, genius is like jade. It needs to be polished before it can be valuable. Genius that has not been polished is just a piece of waste stone. But the middle-aged man wanted to persuade him again. Ye Yongsheng didn't give him this chance, looked at him directly and said coldly, military orders are like mountains. The middle-aged man moved his mouth, wanting to say something more, but in the end he was forced to swallow it back due to Ye Yongshen's obscene power. He said nothing and chose to obey the order to close the biological channel. Once this biological channel is closed, even a legendary powerhouse like Ye Yongsheng cannot open it again. Only a mythical powerhouse can reopen it. In this way, even if City Number 1 is completely breached, hostile alien plants, alien beasts, and aliens will not be able to enter the Earth through biological channels. Closing biological channels is the last line of defense to protect the Earth. Look, there is a strange phenomenon in the sky and Earth over there in the central territory. A mythical powerhouse has fallen. A mythical powerhouse has actually fallen. Who is it? What's that? What a big tree! A handiwork from the holy land of the sun and moon. A burst of exclamations suddenly sounded on the high wall of the city gate. Many people noticed that an astonishing battle broke out in the central territory. They were shocked by the intensity of the battle and were filled with shock and disbelief. A mythical powerhouse, that is the top combat power in the origin. However, at this moment, a mythical powerhouse fell. This made everyone present feel unreal for a moment and suspected that they were dreaming. Ye Yongsheng also noticed the movement that broke out in the central territory. However, he was not paying attention to who the fallen mythical creature was like everyone else. His entire attention was on the towering tree that reached the sky. The wood god has actually revived. Won't it take another 10 years for it to revive? Why is it revived now? Ye Yongsheng stared at the towering tree that suddenly appeared in the central region, frowning tightly, and was puzzled. He liked to proceed according to the plan and didn't like the plan to change in the middle. The sudden early revival of the wood god made him feel uneasy. Above the twisted jungle full of strange plants, Lin Zichen held Shen Qinghan and flew in the air at a high speed like a stream of light, trying his best to stay away from the central region and rush to the south region. The sound of the battle from the central region behind him shocked him. Especially the strange phenomena of heaven and earth caused by the fall of the mythical strongman made him feel fearful and a little grateful for escaping death. Fortunately, he escaped quickly and decisively, and did not stay in the ruins for long. Otherwise, he would have been killed by the aftermath of this mythical war. He died silently. He died with his eyes open. Lin Ziai, which mythical strongman do you think has fallen? Shen Qinghan, who was held in his arms, stared at the direction of the central region, and her delicate and beautiful face was full of shock. It was hard for her to imagine that a creature with a mythical level would fall just like that. You know, epic creatures are already strong enough to withstand nuclear bombs. And mythical creatures are 2 levels higher than epic creatures. Logically speaking, creatures of this level should be immortal. And at this moment, they just fell just like that. This is really unbelievable. Lin Zichen, who was listening on the side, also felt unbelievable. Sujuju is just a rare creature, but it has the biological attribute of escaping by cutting off its tail, which is so difficult to kill. And there are many means, such as illusion and clone. Extremely difficult to deal with, extremely difficult to kill. And the mythical creature, in theory, is even more difficult to kill than Sujuju. But the reality is that the mythical war in the central region has just broken out, and a mythical creature has fallen, which is too unexpected. It would be great if a corpse of a mythical creature could be devoured on the spot, but it's a pity. Lin Zichen murmured in his heart. Not to mention devouring the origin of life, opening the atlas to obtain extremely powerful biological attributes, the source crystal in the body of the mythical creature alone has a huge devouring value. The evolutionary benefits obtained by devouring the source crystal of the mythical strongman are definitely far greater than the evolutionary benefits obtained by devouring those source crystals in the ruins. After all, he is a mythical strongman. Of course, the premise is that this mythical strongman is a creature in the source land. Only creatures in the source land have source crystals in their bodies. 1 day. 2 days. 3 days. When almost a week has passed, Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, who came out of the central domain ruins, finally returned to the south domain and arrived at the dangerous area in front of city number 1. The two stopped moving forward just after they arrived at the edge of the dangerous area. They didn't dare to go any further, because they were surprised to find that city number 1 was surrounded by a large area of demonic plants, and there were groups of strange beasts and strange people surging around, and the situation was very serious. Lin Ziai, the whole city is surrounded, and we can't go back. Shen Qinghan saw the situation in front of her and said with worry on her face. After that, she advised again, let's not go back to the city, just change a place to hide. This is the first time she has been in the source for so long that she didn't panic in the face of an emergency, and she was able to calm down and think about it, and took the initiative to make suggestions. In the past, she would only be pale, nervous, and sweaty, and ask Lin Zichen what to do now with a trembling voice. Lin Zichen's attention at this time was all on the strange plants, beasts, and strange people outside the city. With the help of Eye of the Sky and Danger Sense, he could see clearly from a distance of dozens of miles and knew the situation outside the city. The situation was very serious. Among the alien plants, beasts, and people who participated in the siege, there were legendary creatures. And there were as many as 2 hands. There were hundreds of epic creatures below. Even if the city lord Qin Chuan and his men were still alive and in the city, it would be difficult to deal with such combat power. The reason why city number 1, which lacked strong men, could stand firm until now and had not been breached was all due to the city defense formation. But it was strange that the alien races participating in the siege were not in a hurry to attack the city, and did not use huge firepower to attack the city defense formation and consume the source crystals in the city. I don't know what they were waiting for. After spending some time observing the situation, Lin Zichen made a decision and said to Shen Qinghan in his arms, let's go back to the city. There is a city defense formation in the city. It will be safer to go back to the city. The most important thing is, once the city is breached by aliens and the biological passage in the city is lost, we can also take the biological passage to return to Earth to protect our family. He couldn't let go of his family on Earth. His parents were very important to him, and his newborn sister was also important. He couldn't abandon his family. When Shen Qinghan heard this, he felt scared. When she was thinking about the problem just now, she had forgotten all about her family on the other side of the Earth. She only cared about the current situation of herself and Lin Zichen. She only thought that it would be safer for her and Lin Zichen to move to other places instead of returning to the city. She never expected that if the city was breached and the aliens swarmed to the biological channel, the situation on the other side of the Earth would be extremely bad. After all, the strong men on the other side of the Earth are basically on the source side. Once a legendary alien race breaks into the Earth, it will be a massacre. And the family on the Earth will probably be hard to escape. After calming down a little, Shen Qinghan frowned and asked, but now the city is surrounded by aliens, how can we go back to the city? Lin Zichen said calmly, this is simple. If the road in the sky is blocked, then we will take the underground road instead. Take the underground road instead. Shen Qinghan blinked her watery peach blossom eyes. Lin Zichen did not explain to Shen Qinghan, but chose to demonstrate it directly with action. He brought Shen Qinghan down to the ground, dispersed his mental power to find a relatively soft geological location, and then activated the digging instinct to dig a tunnel on the spot. The average biological level of the giant alien rats is only ordinary level 5. If there is enough time, they can dig a tunnel tens of thousands of meters deep in the ground of Shanghai City. Lin Zichen, who also has the biological attribute of digging instinct, has a biological level far exceeding the average level of giant alien rats, up to epic level 6. Digging a mere 10,000 meter tunnel is enough. Under Lin Zichen's efficient digging, in just a few seconds, a tunnel tens of thousands of meters deep appeared underground. And all this, whether it is the aliens outside the city or the earthlings in the city, none of them discovered it. After the biological level reached the epic level 6, Lin Zichen's means of concealing his breath became stronger, and even legendary creatures could hardly detect his existence. As for Shen Qinghan, under the unknown hidden aura of the Water God Palace, his breath was also hidden. Soon, Lin Zichen led Shen Qinghan to advance dozens of miles in the tunnel that was tens of thousands of meters deep. All the way was safe and sound, and they successfully arrived at the bottom of the city. After arriving at the bottom, Lin Zichen wanted to take Shen Qinghan up. But he found that the city was also surrounded by the city defense formation. He couldn't get in at all. Sure enough, he couldn't get in. Lin Zichen thought to himself. However, he had expected this. He felt that there were always more solutions than difficulties. If you think about it carefully, there will always be a solution. Just as he was thinking about these things in a good mood. Suddenly, the surrounding sand began to loosen. The next second, countless scarlet plant roots extended upward from the surroundings, aiming directly at the bottom of the city. It was not until then that Lin Zichen suddenly realized that the aliens outside the city who had never attacked the city wanted to enter the city from the bottom, just as he thought. P.S. Put the bowl, ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 288 The Biggest Raper on Earth. A large number of scarlet roots slowly emerged from the depths of the ground, quietly approaching the bottom of the city. When they saw these roots, Lin Zichen's face was solemn, and Shen Qinghan's pretty face turned pale. At this moment, both of them thought that they had completely exposed their positions and were about to be attacked by these scarlet roots. However, these scarlet roots ignored the two of them and surged straight to the bottom of the city above, seemingly not noticing their existence. When Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan discovered this, they immediately held their breath, stood still, and quietly watched the scarlet roots surging up around them. I don't know how long it took. It was probably 10 seconds, half a minute, or 1 minute. Until he was sure that he was safe, Lin Zichen started digging again, changing the digging direction and taking Shen Qinghan away from these scarlet roots. Just as the two were about to leave. Suddenly, the magic circle at the bottom of the city disappeared instantly. At the same time, the scarlet roots around them surged up at a rapid speed. In just a blink of an eye, these scarlet roots easily broke through the bottom of the city like a drill and entered the city. Lin Zichen, who witnessed this scene, was stunned for a moment, and then he was terrified. The magic circle at the bottom of the city was not broken. Instead, it suddenly disappeared. What is going on? Is there a traitor in the city working with the aliens outside the city? The reason why the magic circle at the bottom of the city disappeared is because of a traitor? What level of existence is this traitor who can control the city defense formation? Epic level? Legendary level? It should be legendary level. The biological level is as high as legendary level, so this traitor must be a high-ranking city leader with considerable authority in the city. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen's expression became more solemn. He hesitated for a moment. Finally, he decided to follow these scarlet roots into the city, and quickly took Shen Qinghan to dig at the bottom of the city above. He wanted to follow the tribesmen in the city and participate in the upcoming war. The purpose of participating was not to advance and retreat together with the tribesmen, but simply to kill the aliens and obtain a large number of alien corpses for himself to devour. He possessed the two biological attributes of the strong prey on the weak and the source of devouring. As long as the corpses he devoured were strong enough and numerous enough, his biological level would advance by leaps and bounds. In the city, under the high wall, at a glance, everywhere you looked was full of people. At this moment, almost everyone in the city gathered here, ready to fight a war with the aliens outside the city at any time. Under a lush and towering tree, the most talented geniuses in the city gathered together with weapons in hand, listening carefully to the psychological construction done by a city leader. Or encouragement. Or chicken blood. The number of geniuses in this batch is as high as hundreds. Except for Luo Qingxiu and other alien-level geniuses of the current year. The remaining nearly 100 people are all alien-level geniuses of previous years. Among these alien-level geniuses of previous years, the strongest biological level is as high as the third level of epic. As long as one step further, it can become an epic mid-level creature. This strongest alien-level genius is now 68 years old and has graduated from the alien-level genius team for 38 years. All the team members of his class except him have died. All died in the source. Most of them died in the process of opening up the source. 38 years ago, the Earth's understanding of the source was far less than it is now. Now the understanding of the source is all based on the step-by-step opening up of the strong. The process of opening up is full of dangers, and many geniuses and strong people have died in this process. It is because of the increasing understanding of the source in recent years that the death rate in the alien level team has been reduced. Otherwise, half of the genius team of the inhuman level would have died by now. And within a few years, only 1 or 2 of the strongest ones would be left, and the rest would all become cannon fodder. The source crystal reserves in the city are running low, and the city defense formation will disappear soon. The moment the city defense formation disappears, it's the moment we go into battle to kill the enemy. Although the upcoming war is full of dangers, many people will sacrifice and become a corpse on the battlefield, or even, no bones left. But you are all geniuses. For others, this war is full of dangers, but for you, this war is full of opportunities. Zhou Hai, you have been stuck at the epic level of level 3 for almost 10 years. The reason why you have been stuck for so long is not that your evolutionary talent is not high enough, but that you have not obtained enough evolutionary resources. The next war that is about to break out will just provide you with an opportunity to obtain a large amount of evolutionary resources. You must seize it. Chen Yongren, you have been stuck at the rare level of level 9 for 5 years, and the same is true. And Zhong Zhaofeng, Wu Jiaming, Zhang Ziyi, the same is true for the three of you. The leader of the city kept pumping up everyone, and each pump of chicken blood was accurately shot at every genius who was eager to break through the biological level. Many of the geniuses present were still a little afraid of fighting. At this moment, after listening to the city leader's words, everyone was encouraged and felt slightly excited. Just when these geniuses were in high spirits. Bang! 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 Bursts of dull sounds sounded as densely as raindrops. A large number of scarlet roots broke out of the ground and soared into the sky under the gaze of many people. Then, it turned into a terrifying venomous snake and launched a fierce attack on everyone in the city. At this moment, the city was noisy, and shouts were heard one after another. Many people with lower biological levels had their bodies penetrated directly by scarlet roots, and the blood and energy in their bodies were instantly sucked dry, turning them into shriveled corpses. The scarlet root system that has sucked the blood is like being injected with a high concentration of oxen. It is growing longer and thicker at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it has changed from a small root system to a thick and huge trunk. Then, the branches and leaves spread out, shrouding the entire land below in shadow. Help me! What's going on? How did these alien plants break through the city defense formation and come in? Quick, save people! Along with these shouts, the entire city fell into chaos. After a while, the strong ones responded one after another and rescued the weak ones who were attacked by the scarlet roots. However, there are too many weak people and too few strong people. It is impossible to rescue every weak person by relying on manpower. As the scarlet roots continued to pour out, the number of casualties continued to increase, and the city that was originally bustling with people soon turned into a purgatory full of desperate cries. Under the lush and towering trees, countless scarlet roots were entangled together, forming an airtight blood network, covering the hundreds of alien-level geniuses under the tree. Inhuman-level geniuses are not lambs to be slaughtered. The moment the blood network was formed, they immediately scattered and escaped the sudden attack. Bang! 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 There was a sound of ground breaking, and a large number of scarlet roots rose into the sky, launching the most violent attack on the people in the city. Luo Qingxiu, who was sitting on an icicle, was attacked by countless scarlet roots at this moment. Facing the impenetrable attack of the scarlet root system, she had nowhere to escape. However, she never thought about running away. At the moment when the scarlet root system was less than half a centimeter away from her whole body was directly transformed into a ball of elemental ice air, allowing the scarlet root system to pass through and freeze into crystal clear icicles. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Just when she thought she had successfully dodged the attack. Crack! 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 There was a sound of hard objects breaking. The next second, the scarlet roots that had been frozen into icicles burst out of the ice, and with wisps of blood-red mist, they suddenly wrapped around Luo Qingxiu. Luo Qingxiu was completely unfazed by this. Her entire body is now completely elemental, and she is theoretically immune to any physical attack. The mere entanglement of roots could not do anything to her. She thought so, but the scene that happened next instantly shattered her naive idea. I saw that those scarlet roots lingering with blood-red energy and blood did not penetrate directly when they touched her body like before. Instead, it touched the entity and instantly entangled it like a python, entangling Luo Qingxiu into an airtight cicada. Immediately afterwards, a large number of sharp thorns sprouted from the roots and pierced into Luo Qingxiu's body, trying to suck out the power of blood and consciousness contained in her body. Luo Qingxiu did not sit still and waited for death. She immediately exploded the source power in her body to forcefully break away from the shackles of these scarlet roots. Unfortunately, the rank of these scarlet roots is much higher than hers. No matter how strong her energy was, she couldn't break free from the tightening scarlet roots. Can't break free. I'm going to die. After realizing that she couldn't save herself, Luo Qingxiu's face was full of despair. She still has many wishes that she wants to realize, and she doesn't want to disappear from this world so soon. Although I don't want to, the chance of survival in this situation is basically zero. What awaits her next is that all the blood in her body will be sucked dry, until she becomes a shriveled corpse with no vitality left. Just when she had lost hope of survival. Boom! A deafening sound exploded. At the moment when the sound exploded, two figures standing closely together emerged from the ground and appeared in the sight of many people around them. It's Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan. Following the pace of the scarlet roots, the two slowly emerged from the depths of the ground and returned to the city. When they saw the tragic scene of corpses lying everywhere in the city, both of them were deeply shocked, feeling as if they had arrived in the legendary hell. These scarlet roots only rushed into the city half a minute early. But just in this short half minute, these scarlet roots actually turned the entire city into chaos, with desperate shouts and cries everywhere. Help! Lin Zichen said this to Shen Qinghan immediately after seeing the tragic situation in the city. As soon as he finished speaking, his whole body's energy and blood exploded, and countless blood blades condensed in his hands. Then, there was a burst of swoosh, swoosh sound of breaking through the air. The blood blade in his hand instantly shot out like an arrow, aiming directly at the surrounding scarlet roots. Shua! 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 Accompanied by such a sharp cutting sound. Wherever the blood blade passed, the scarlet roots were shattered all over the ground, turning into piles of sawdust that drifted in the wind. Shen Qinghan, who was standing by, was not stunned either. Soon, his mental power burst out, controlling a large amount of groundwater to gush out of the surface, condensing into a 1,000-meter-long water dragon, circling and breathing in the city. On the other side, Luo Qingxiu, who had just been entangled into an airtight cicada pupa, successfully escaped from the cicada pupa with the help of the blood blade. The moment she escaped, she saw Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan not far away. When she saw Lin Zichen hovering in the sky, controlling the blood blades that filled the sky and easily destroying the scarlet roots, she couldn't help but be slightly stunned, with a look of doubt on her face. She could clearly feel that Lin Zichen had become stronger again. Moreover, he became stronger exponentially. He was so strong that she was just an ant that could be crushed to death in front of Lin Zichen. How did he suddenly become so much stronger? Luo Qingxiu looked up at Lin Zichen in the sky, full of confusion. But soon, a scene that puzzled her even more appeared. Shen Qinghan, who was beside Lin Zichen, could actually perform as powerful as Lin Zichen at this moment. With a wave of his hand, Shen Qinghan controlled a large amount of groundwater, condensed a huge water dragon, swallowed all the scarlet roots along the way into his stomach, crushed them into powder, dissolved them in the water and disappeared. How can she be so strong? Luo Qingxiu looked at Shen Qinghan who was controlling a 1,000-meter water dragon, her eyes were full of shock, and her cognition was completely overturned. You know, when Shen Qinghan first joined the team of extraordinary geniuses, he was just an inconspicuous little transparent. How long has it been now? How did his strength become so much stronger? Just when Luo Qingxiu was doubting her life. Boom! A loud noise came from under the high wall. The city gate made of special crystals was suddenly opened without any warning. Then, a voice full of confusion and fear sounded, Lord Yat, what are you doing? Why are you opening the city gate? Hearing this terrified sentence, many people who were fighting turned their heads to look in the direction of the city gate. Among them, Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan were also included. Lin Zichen was almost the first person to look in the direction of the voice. The next second after looking over, his brows instantly frowned, and his expression became extremely solemn. The originally closed city gate was now wide open on both sides, opening a huge hole under the solid high wall, allowing the aliens outside the city to enter in a stream. The strange plants in the Sun and Moon Holy Land, the strange beasts in the Night Cave, and the strange people in the Land of Destruction all swarmed towards the city gate at this moment. There were so many of these strange races pouring in that the entire city was on the verge of collapse. P.S. Putting out polls, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 289 Killing a Legendary Warrior. Lin Ziai, the city gate is open. Shen Qinghan, who was controlling the 1,000-meter water dragon, shouted to Lin Zichen who was not far away when he saw the city gate suddenly open and a large number of aliens filed in. There was a hint of tension and fear in his voice. There were too many aliens. When so many aliens filed in, the whole city was shaky and looked like it would collapse at any time. Hearing the shout, Lin Zichen quickly flew to Shen Qinghan. On the way, his eyes fell on the high wall, looking at the Deputy State Lord Ye Yongsheng on the high wall. He just heard the shout from the high wall, asking Ye Yongsheng why he wanted to open the city gate. What does this mean? Why did Ye Yongsheng open the city gate? Is Ye Yongsheng a traitor? Deputy State Lord, legendary strongman, one of the most powerful people on earth. If such an existence is really a traitor, it will undoubtedly be a heavy blow to the human heart to resist the aliens. I hope that this deputy governor will open the city gate, not because he is a traitor, but because he has other intentions. For example, to trick the aliens into coming in and killing them. Lin Zichen thought so in his heart. While he was thinking about this, Shen Qinghan also flew towards him. Soon, the two people who were originally thousands of meters apart were reunited. What should we do next? Shen Qinghan frowned slightly and asked with a bit of worry. Lin Zichen said calmly, let's wait and see what happens. From a safety perspective, he should take Shen Qinghan away from this place of trouble now, return to Earth through the biological channel, and protect his family on Earth. However, he couldn't bear to leave those aliens who were madly rushing into the city. These are all evolutionary resources. Under the effect of the strong prey on the weak, these evolutionary resources can allow him to obtain various biological attributes. Under the effect of source devouring, his biological level can advance by leaps and bounds. If you don't try your best to obtain more evolutionary resources to improve your biological level now, when the mythical war will inevitably affect you, it will be too late. Escape is always a temporary solution. The best way to break the deadlock is to face the challenge and obtain a large amount of evolutionary resources to improve your own strength. Just when Lin Zichen decided to stay and fight the invading alien race. Puff. A dull sound of flesh and blood piercing came. Then, a voice full of disbelief and weakness sounded from a certain position on the high wall. Lord Yat, what are you doing? Hearing the 3 words Lord Yat, Lin Zichen immediately looked in the direction of the sound. The scene that immediately came into his eyes was an extremely shocking scene. The city leader who had just questioned Ya Yongsheng and asked him why he opened the city gate was pierced directly in the chest by Ya Yongshen's bare hands, and a fresh heart appeared in Ya Yongshen's hand. Ya Yongsheng did not answer the man's question, but tightened his 5 fingers suddenly and burst the heart in his hand. Then, a bloody mouth full of fangs opened in his chest, and under the horrified gaze of the people around him, he swallowed the man who had lost his heart in front of him into his stomach. Chewed. Tear. Swallowed. Transformed into blood and energy and absorbed completely. Lin Zichen was stunned for a moment after witnessing Ya Yongshen's bloody mouth opening in his stomach and swallowing a city leader alive. Traitor. This Ya Yongsheng is actually a traitor. Even a deputy state lord is a traitor, this earth is hopeless. When Lin Zichen was shocked by this. A traitor, this Lord Yat is a traitor. Everyone, stay away from him. Don't scatter, don't run away, don't be a coward, let's join forces to deal with him. After realizing that Ya Yongsheng was a traitor, the city leaders on the high wall shouted almost at the same time to remind each other. Hearing these shouts, Lin Zichen quickly swept in the direction of the sound, peeking at the biological level of the city leaders who made these shouts, to see if there was a chance to join forces with them to kill Ya Yongsheng. Legendary Level 4. Legendary Level 3. Legendary Level 2 Great Perfection. Legendary Level 1. Epic Level 9 Great Perfection. Epic Level 9. After a round of peeking, the biological levels of those city leaders who just shouted were not low. If they all join forces, they can completely deal with a legendary mid-level strongman. If they cooperate well, they can even deal with a legendary level 7 strongman and become the final winner. But unfortunately, Ya Yongsheng, the deputy governor, has a biological level as high as the 8th level of legend. 1 level higher than the 7th level of legend. It is this higher level that just breaks the balance of strength between the two sides. If I and Hanan are included, can we make up for the 1 level gap between the two sides? Lin Zichen thought so, and his heart was ready to move. He wanted Ya Yongsheng to die. First, for revenge. To avenge the many attacks on Earth. Ya Yongsheng told him that he could show his strength to his heart's content without worrying about safety. As a result, when he really showed his strength far beyond his peers and was attacked by pagans, Ya Yongsheng did not provide him with shelter at all. This almost killed him. Second, to devour Ya Yongsheng's body. As a legendary 8th level expert, Ya Yongsheng must have very powerful alien genes in his body. If all the alien genes in his body could be swallowed up, the evolutionary benefits gained from it would be unimaginable. Based on the above 2 points. And think about it again and again. In the end, Lin Zichen made an extremely risky decision to try to kill Ya Yongsheng. Then Lord Yezu is actually raped. What should we do now? Shen Qinghan was back to his old self, completely without any idea, his palms were sweating from nervousness, and he asked Lin Zichen what to do with an uneasy look on his face. It's not her fault. The only thing to blame was the fact that Ya Yongsheng was raped. The impact was too great. A little girl with Shen Qinghan's personality was overwhelmed by the impact and instinctively looked for support. Lin Zichen noticed Shen Qinghan's nervousness. But it didn't appease her. Instead, he reached out and held her hand, secretly transmitting qi and blood to her and said, I want to try to kill Deputy Governor Yat. I may need your assistance then. Can it be done? Kill Deputy Governor Yat? Shen Qinghan frowned even more tightly, with a hint of disbelief in his eyes, unable to believe what he heard from Lin Zichen. That's a deputy governor. The strength is unfathomable. It is a more powerful existence than the city lord Qin Chuan. How to kill this? Although he was confused and scared, Shen Qinghan didn't want to live up to Lin Zichen's expectations, so he finally gritted his teeth and nodded, it can be done. After saying that, she added, I will listen to your command throughout the whole process. I will do whatever you ask me to do. I will successfully complete the tasks you assigned me. She didn't know if she could do this. But it must be done. She didn't want to hold Lin Zichen back. She has held Lin Zichen back many times since she was little. Now, it's time for a change. Lin Zichen listened to her firm and confident words, felt the sweat pouring out of her palms that did not match her words, and said seriously. Well, I believe you. While the two were discussing this, high on the wall, a group of leaders in the city have begun to show their magical powers and join forces to deal with Ya Yongsheng, and a legendary battle broke out. The battle was extremely fierce. Just after the fight, the aftermath knocked down a large area of the city wall. Many people and aliens who were close by and had lower biological levels were directly destroyed by the aftermath, with no bones left. Lord Yesu, do you need my help? When the war entered a fierce stage, a celestial lion with 8 wings on its back hovered high above the battle between the two sides, looking down at Yongsheng below and asked. Its biological level is only legendary level 1, which is far inferior to Yongsheng. However, the tone it spoke at this moment was condescending, and it didn't take Yongsheng seriously at all. It is the illegitimate son of the Night King, a descendant of a mythical creature with a transcendent status. There is no comparison to the traitor Yongsheng. He was naturally arrogant in front of Yongsheng. Yongsheng felt that Tianqi was arrogant and felt a little unhappy, but he did not show it. In order to evolve into a mythical creature as soon as possible, what does a small humiliation mean? One day he will become a mythical creature, and he will be rewarded tenfold. Being brave enough to endure hardship is a quality that a strong person must possess. With this mentality, Yongsheng just responded with a calm face, "No, I can handle it here by myself. You can occupy this place quickly." Tianqi smiled and said, "Zhu Yesu is indeed a legendary high-level strong man, he is really confident." After leaving such a somewhat sinister remark, Tianqi quickly crossed over the legendary scene below and reached the sky above the central area of the city. Pathetic ants, it's time for you to feel what it means to be powerful. Tianqi faced the people in the city below and said with contempt in his eyes. The moment the words fell, the huge 8 wings behind it expanded thousands of times, instantly covering the city below airtight. Then, boo, hoo, boo. Just listen to a sharp sound breaking through the air. A large number of feathers attached with source power suddenly shot out from the huge 8 wings, shooting toward the city below at the speed of a stream of light, aiming directly at the earthlings in the city. Pft! 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 There was a sound of flesh and blood being penetrated by sharp objects. More than half of the earthlings in the city below were shot by feathers, and one or several shocking blood holes suddenly appeared on their bodies. A large amount of blood gushes out from these blood holes, dyeing the entire land blood red. Lin Zichen glanced at the celestial lion high in the sky, peeking at its biological level. Seeing that its biological level was only the legendary first level, I couldn't help but be slightly stunned, thinking that my perception was wrong. The biological level is only at the legendary level, yet he speaks in such a condescending tone, treating all things like ants. Those who didn't know it looked at it and thought it was a mythical powerhouse. You are responsible for saving people, and I will deal with it. Knowing that the biological level of Tianqi was only the legendary first level, Lin Zichen immediately dropped this sentence and rushed to the sky with a buzz. The attack range of this celestial lion is too large and it will cause great damage to the battlefield. It must be dealt with first. When Lin Zichen rushed towards Tianqi, Shen Qinghan below was not idle. She suddenly exploded with mental power, and with a thought, she controlled the blood on the ground through the air, separated the mixed blood layer by layer, and sent them back to the body where the blood belonged. Under this heaven-defying treatment, many injured people on the ground who were dying due to excessive loss of vitality and blood were able to withdraw their legs from the gate of hell in an instant and save a life. What kind of amazing treatment is this? How did she do it? So strong. Many people in the city noticed Shen Qinghan's handiwork and were extremely shocked by her incredible treatment method, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. Especially Luo Qingxiu. Before the arrival of Lin Zichen and Shen Qinghan, this genius had always been praised as the genius with the highest evolutionary talent. Now after seeing Shen Qinghan's treatment method, he instinctively opened his eyes wide and doubted life. She couldn't figure it out and found it difficult to understand. When Shen Qinghan first joined the team of alien-level geniuses, he was a little transparent person with no attention. How long has it been since then? Why has it suddenly grown to such an exaggerated level? Did this consume some extremely high-grade evolutionary resources? Other side. High in the sky. Lin Zichen burst out with the fastest speed in his life, and rushed in front of Tianqi in the blink of an eye. He waved his fist with the power of strong blood and punched Tianqi's huge head. Tianqi sensed that the strength of qi and blood in Lin Zichen's fist was not high, only a mere 6th level of epic. In response, it couldn't help laughing, the biological level is only epic level 6. How can you find the courage to challenge me? But soon, it stopped laughing. Lin Zichen's qi and blood strength was not very high, far inferior to Tianqi's qi and blood strength. However, with the blessing of biological attributes such as natural selection, social animal, and extreme hardening, the power instantly increased, so much that it caused large void cracks to rub into the air. Boom! A huge crash exploded. Lin Zichen punched the Tianqi's huge head suddenly, instantly turning its entire head into a ball of blood mist. Tianqi didn't expect Lin Zichen to be so strong. When it faced Lin Zichen's punch, its head turned into a ball of blood mist before it could react to block it. But in the next second, its head, which was blasted into a ball of blood mist, was instantly recast with flesh and blood, without any trace of injury. What the hell are you? Boom! Tianqi, whose flesh and blood had been recast back into his head, was about to ask who Lin Zichen was when his head suddenly received another punch and once again exploded into a ball of blood mist that filled the surrounding area. This time, Lin Zichen did not give Tianqi a chance to reforge his flesh and blood. The moment he exploded the Tianqi's head, a wisp of red flame ignited with a thought, burning the blood mist in front of him into nothingness. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 290, Deputy Governor. The one to be killed is the Deputy Governor. Above the city, a large area of blood and chi ignited a red flame, which was instantly burned into nothingness and completely disappeared from the world. Many people felt the heat of the flame and looked up at the sky at the same time. Then, what they saw was a young man hovering in the sky in a huge headless lion body. Soon, a large number of bright red granulations grew on the broken neck of the headless lion body. Once these granulations appeared, they quickly intertwined to form a huge lion head. Who are you? The celestial lion, which had grown a head again, looked at Lin Zichen with horror and asked. Before leading the team to attack City No. 1, it had learned about the top combat power in the city, and had never heard of a person like Lin Zichen. Facing its confusion, Lin Zichen had no intention of solving the puzzle. In response to it, he only had a fist with a huge amount of blood and chi. Boom! A deafening roar came. Lin Zichen's fist slammed into the heavenly lion, and the blood and chi that rushed out was as powerful as a star explosion, with a wide range, directly submerging the huge lion body in a hot blood red. The residual power emitted during the period shook the city below slightly, and the blood and chi that escaped made the creatures sweat profusely. Then, accompanied by a rain of blood, a huge lion body fell from the sky at a high speed. A big hole was broken in the chest of the lion body. Blood was flowing. The vitality in the body was rapidly lost. Boom! Not long after the lion body fell, another huge crash sounded, resounding throughout the sky. The moment the sound fell, the huge lion body that almost covered the sky and the sun instantly turned into a bloody rain like a bursting watermelon, dripping densely into the city below, and the rich smell of blood filled the entire sky. The blood rain fell very quickly. But before a drop of blood rain fell to the ground, all the blood rain was attracted by a huge upward suction force, and all of it turned from falling to rising, condensing into a rich and bright red blood ball, quietly floating in Lin Zichen's hand. Don't kill me! I am the son of the Night King, a descendant of a mythical creature. You can ask for anything, and I can satisfy it. Please spare my life. In the rich blood ball, a wisp of the soul of the heavenly lion made a begging voice, no longer high and mighty as before. Lin Zichen listened to it without any fluctuation in his heart, and burst out with a powerful mental force to wipe out the soul of the heavenly lion in the blood ball. Under the wiping of his mental power, the heavenly lion in the blood ball felt that life was worse than death, and his spirit was almost collapsed. While the soul was not completely wiped out, the heavenly lion struggled to death, and shouted to Yongsheng in the distance with the last bit of energy. Master Yesu, save me! The voice was full of blood and energy, and instantly penetrated through the layers of air and reached Yongsheng's ears in the distance. At this time, Yongsheng was concentrating on fighting with a group of leaders in the city. The fight was so fierce that the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The aftermath was everywhere. The battlefield was almost turned into a life-forbidden zone. Suddenly hearing the cry for help from the heavenly lion, Yongsheng couldn't help but frown, feeling puzzled. Almost all the strong men in the city were here to encircle him, the deputy state lord. In this case, the heavenly lion, whose biological level was as high as the legendary first level, was an invincible existence in the city. What happened, so that the heavenly lion, which should be invincible, would make such a cry for help? With this doubt, Yongsheng, without affecting his own performance, separated a tiny bit of mental power and diffused it along the cry for help from the heavenly lion. When he saw Lin Zichen hovering high above the city, holding a blood ball wrapped in the heavenly lion's soul in his hand, the whole person couldn't help but be stunned. For a moment, he thought he was hallucinating. Lin Zichen? How could it be Lin Zichen? What on earth is going on? How could a legendary first-level heavenly lion fall into his hands? Epic 6th level? His biological level is actually as high as epic 6th level? How is this possible? When he sensed the biological pressure emanating from Lin Zichen, which was as high as epic 6th level, Yongsheng was completely stunned. When he recommended Lin Zichen to join the team of extraordinary geniuses, Lin Zichen's biological level was still at the ordinary stage, and his strength was only comparable to that of advanced creatures. How long has it been now? It seems to be only about a year. In such a short period of time, Lin Zichen actually grew from the lowest ordinary level to the point where he can kill a legendary first-level creature alone. How did he do this? Yongsheng couldn't understand this and felt puzzled. Although he was very confused, he didn't have time to dwell on this point at the moment. Soon, a strong pressure broke out, which briefly shocked the surrounding city leaders, and then killed Lin Zichen at the fastest speed. He could sense that the spirit of the heavenly lion in the blood ball was being quickly wiped out by Lin Zichen's mental power. It would soon be reduced to ashes and cease to exist. The heavenly lion was the descendant of the Night King. As a traitor, he had to protect the descendant of this mythical strongman. Otherwise, he would be held accountable and suspected. Quick, stop him, don't let him run away. The city leaders who besieged Ye Yongsheng saw that Ye Yongsheng was suddenly leaving the battlefield, thinking that he knew he was no match for him and fled. They immediately shouted excitedly at the top of their lungs. They were going to pursue him. Under the obstruction of the city leaders, Ye Yongsheng could not rush over to rescue Tianxi for a while. And in this short period of time, the soul of Tianxi in the blood ball has been completely wiped out by Lin Zichen. At the same time, a strange phenomenon in the world. A huge figure of Tianxi was projected above the city, reflected in the eyes of all the creatures in the southern region. Then, under the shocked gaze of all the creatures in the southern region, it instantly shattered into scattered light spots and completely disappeared from this world. A legendary creature fell. It was the first legendary strongman to fall in this battlefield. Lin Zichen ignored the strange phenomenon above his head. Seeing that the soul of Tianxi in the blood ball had been wiped out, he immediately thought, devour. You have devoured a large amount of the life source of the eight-winged heavenly lion /. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.